Okay, awesome. So, how many of you are first time to these the .NET Conf? Did you guys come last year? First timers. You are all first timers. Okay. Are you all .NET developers? Yes. All of them. Anybody who's not who's a traitor in this crowd? Anybody Java? No. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I was just joking. We live in a world where everyone has to collaborate and work, right? So, I don't know about you, but my life has changed ever since I bought my first smartphone. Did it change for you guys? Like, how do you switch off your alarms today? Is it the alarm clock? No, right? It's your phone. And the moment you switch off or you snooze and you come back and you switch off, at some point you switch it off. And then what you will do is you will spend the rest of your few hours within your phone, checking for the latest updates, and probably your boss will send you some message that you need to respond to and all this kind of things, right? That has been the smartphone revolution. But how is it going to be next 5 years from now? You know how things have changed for me? I recently bought a Google Home. You guys know Google Home? It's a small device pod which you can use it in your home and you can speak to a computer, right? And it is amazing. I even bought Apple AirPods. People laughed at it when there's no wire and it just hangs around and it looks ugly. It's all fine, it all looks ugly. But the thing is, it has an interesting chip inside it, which is actually, interpreting your voices. So now I speak to my phone every day. When there's a new message, it reads out. There's a WhatsApp message, it reads out. And that's really annoying, so I switched that off. But that's what is happening, right? We actually talk to these devices, and that's what is going to be the change. Specifically, when I talk about Google Home, I'm a person who likes to develop on devices. So give me any device, I would love to develop on that. So I spent a good amount of time investing on an Android TV last year. And when Google Home came in, that was the game changer for me. So Android TV, I used to write apps for Android TV using Xamarin. You guys know Xamarin? Okay. So I built apps for, but there's technically nothing much you can do other than releasing streaming services and other kind of things. But when Google Home came in, that's when I realized things have changed so much. For example, when there's relatives come, I just tell Google, hey Google, show me my pictures of my daughter from last month, and it just shows it on the Android TV. And now it has become an everyday communication with each of us. Like if you want to cook something, we talk to the Google Home. And I'm not joking, this is really, for me, it's like living in a sci-fi movie. It's really that part of the awesomeness that is, right? So as we developers, this is an amazing opportunity for us to build those amazing technologies that people want to consume, right? Do you all believe in that? Everyone is talking about AI, right? A few years ago, everyone was talking about IoT as well, right? But there is one thing about AI and IoT and all these spaces is not everybody knows the right way to do it. Everybody talks about it, but not everybody knows the right way to do it. So it is time for you guys also, if you haven't started to invest in these things, start investing in it and try to understand how these AIs are going to change our lives. How is a natural language like us when we speak? Like earlier, we used to do commandings, like, hey, do this thing, do that thing, there's a command, it picks up a command. Even now it is that way, but then the way it understands is it understands the context. You are naturally speaking, and within that speech, it's able to understand your context, and it is able to give you an experience that you cannot imagine. That's the kind of things that's going to be able to build, right? So, my name is Nish, and I work as a senior program manager at Xamarin, in the Xamarin team at Microsoft. How many of you have heard about Xamarin? I think I just need to. Okay, how many of you worked on it? Okay, perfect. So I joined, Xamarin is a company which actually built a platform called Xamarin, which helps you build on iOS and Android and Windows applications using C#, so which I'll go into a little deeper. So I joined Xamarin when we were just about 60 people, and 18 months ago Microsoft acquired us, and the good thing about that is we are now part of the mobile developer tools divisions at Microsoft, which means everything that you want to build on a non-Windows platforms, we are the guys who are responsible for getting you that kind of a platform out there. Okay? So when you have to build some amazing stuffs, you need a great IDE. Do you agree? You need a great IDE. So that's something which I'm going to cover today. It's called Visual Studio for Mac. Have you heard about Visual Studio? Okay, excellent. So it's an IDE loved by millions. I mean, I spent my 8, 9, or actually a little more than that, hours of my days just spending on the IDE, right? and it is really amazing. So our job was to get the best of Visual Studio to the Mac. And when we do that, the one important thing is, of course, it is built from a very old fork of Mono Develop, which was an IDE for, during the Mono days for taking your C# to build it on Linux and kind of things. From there we went to Xamarin Studio, where you can build apps for mobiles, games, and a lot more things. But now with the integration, it actually works where you can actually build for web using ASP.NET, ASP.NET Core, .NET Standards, and Docker. All those things we'll look at it today. Okay, and of course the cloud. For heterogeneous teams, all the IDE is all about making sure that when you work on something, there's a team that is working with you, and you have a seamless integration between the files that you work on, right? The team services and other kind of things. So what we did is, a lot of people ask me like, is this a Xamarin Studio rebranding? Anybody has a question for that? Is this Xamarin Studio rebranded? No? Okay, do you know Xamarin Studio? Yeah. Does Visual Studio for Mac look like that? Very similar, right? No? Almost similar. Okay. So the idea was when Visual Studio for Mac was conceived, the idea was conceived, at that point of time we had to look at what would a Mac developer use an IDE to build apps using .NET. And that's the way we looked at it. At that time, Xamarin Studio was very mature, delivering mobile apps where you can build mobile apps and things. But what we did is, the question of branding is yes and no, because yes, it looks same. What we did is we went ahead and made the look and feel of the UI exactly same as how a Mac app should look. So that means we still go ahead and use the Cocoa APIs to build that, and you won't believe this, when Xamarin Studio days, when Retina was announced, the Retina support for Mac was announced, our engineers, our designers actually, they spent a lot of time redrawing the entire icons to schools with the Retina. So that's the kind of amount of effort that we put in to build that IDE look like a real Mac app and not like a Windows app running on a Mac, right? So that's the reason it looks more like a Mac. It has key bindings very specific to Mac keyboards, but if you're interested to use a Visual Studio, so let's say you are a Visual Studio developer from Windows and you moved to Mac for various reasons and you want to have the same key bindings, we have the support for that also. You can change the key bindings to Visual Studio support, right? So technically it looks like Xamarin Studio, but the other thing is we brought the best of Visual Studio from Windows to Mac, that is the ROS. The editor that you use has been completely rewritten from the Visual Studio. So that means you get the same experience how you build an app in Visual Studio, you get the same IDE experience on Visual Studio on Mac. Yeah? Cool. So now this is how a Visual Studio for Mac looks like. It's built using extensions in mind. So you have a shell which is actually running all the extensions for you. And under the hood, the way we work with the graphics is the two things. One is the Cocoa UI, which is the Apple's API for using graphics in the Apple Mac system. So we use the Cocoa, and then we also use GTK for cross-platform for designers and other kind of things. We use GTK, which is again shared between the Linux platforms and other things. And you have the beautiful editor and Rosalie combined, which is again coming from the Visual Studio Windows. It's so bad that I have to say Visual Studio for Windows now, because it's actually Visual Studio, right? And you have a great source control support, and the way you look at it, the iOS and Android, these are all extensions. So that is the reason why when we had to support .NET code, we could immediately go and start supporting the .NET code, because it is all made of extensions. So if you want to build maybe something for yourself, or you want to bring Java to it, you can actually do that using extensions. Okay, let's start. The way I'm going to do this demo today, it's going to be demo rich, so you have to bear with me with the time it's going to take between switchings. It's going to be showing you two things. One is the client development, where you will go ahead and build your apps, mobile apps, right? When I say client, technically it's all mobile apps now, right? Anything that is moving and having a context, that's what is client development all about. And we'll also look at server development as well. So how would you build your regular .NET Core apps and other things? Yeah? Any questions so far? Okay, so when I talk about the .NET world, today it is the best time to be a .NET developer, because today you can think of a platform and .NET runs on it. Okay? And this is true. This was intentionally done ever since we actually moved into the Microsoft thing, Microsoft division. we are now focused on bringing you the best of .NET in every platform that's available. So you want to think of writing an app for Android, you can do that. Android apps can work on Android TVs, Android wearables. You can build an IDE, like a stuff on Mac, just like how we build Visual Studio for Mac. If you want to build something on a Mac, you can do that too. There's iOS, so obviously, if you want to build iOS apps and other things. When I say iOS apps, it's not only iOS. You go with tvOS, watchOS, anything that has the same extensions. And of course, you can build for Linux, right? And yeah, for sure, you can build for Windows and also web, right? So I'm not sure if you know, if you guys have heard of Tizen OS. It's from Samsung. The refrigerators are starting to, run OSs. Think about that. Coffee makers are going to run OSs. So that's like when the future is going to be. It's not going to be two futures when I talk. The near future is going to be when you switch off the alarm clock, your coffee maker automatically starts, or your pizza gets switched on automatically, right? All these things are possible because when there's a minor operating system that's running on these small devices. So these are all the possibility now. So when that happens, if you have to build on these platforms, it's all available. So I was talking about Tizen. So Samsung, we collaborated, and Tizen OS is available, and there's .NET which is running on it. But interestingly, what they did is they forked the Xamarin Forms project, and they added Tizen support to it. So what it means is, if you're building a Xamarin Forms project, by default your app is going to run on Tizen. So that means if you want to work right for, let's say, Samsung refrigerators, you can do that from the time you start working on Xamarin Forms. So that's the kind of coolness that's going to come. Now, because you're working in .NET and then you're going to work on C# or F#, you have a huge amount of logic that can be shared, right? All these platforms come with their own APIs. You have to understand this, right? All these platforms have their own APIs. Let's say if you want to talk to a refrigerator, it will have this temperature controls and other things. Those are APIs built in. Now, those are the things that you will be accessing as per the platform. But there are a ton of business logic that can be shared, right? Once you capture the temperature control, what do you want to do with it? That's the code that can be shared across. That's a huge amount of code that can be shared across all these platforms. And that's why I'm saying it is the best time to be a .NET developer, because now you can think of a platform, you can actually open Visual Studio and start writing for it, right? So this is how it looks. Traditionally, the Xamarin approach has been like this. We have the iOS UI, Android UI, Windows UI. As I told you, there are APIs, so you actually program for those APIs, and then there's a huge bunch of C# code that can be shared across all the platforms. Yeah, we went and built Xamarin Forms. So a lot of applications does not require the UI to be written twice. There was no need. For example, a feedback app, which is only all that it is doing is collecting your feedbacks with few text boxes and giving you a rating control. So it didn't have to repeat it twice. So we built Xamarin Forms as an UI framework, which is going to do the plumbing work for you. So when you write a button in Xamarin Forms, it automatically becomes a button in an iOS or an Android, depending on the platform it's running on. So it's just a UI framework that we built. So the advantage of using that is you can now go ahead and write 100% of code in Xamarin Forms and can be shared across iOS, Android, and Windows. Right? When I say 100%, it looks magical, but if you're writing only platform-independent codes, sometimes you write platform-dependent codes. Let's say you want to connect to Bluetooth NFC. Right? Now, NFC is available only on Android. Right? In Apple, there's no programmable NFC. There is an NFC, but there's no programmable NFC. That code won't run. Same way, right? To understand the differences. Yeah.
Suppose I'm developing one application in iOS and Windows, and I have to write different code or same logic I can reuse.
Same logic, which is reusable logic, can be reused. When I say reusable logic, anything, think of it like, okay, you have a UI, iOS UI and Windows UI. Both follow different principles. Okay? So you have, in iOS, you have segmented controls and there are other controls which are not available in, let's say, Android or Windows. Those logic cannot be taken this side. Those UI cannot be taken. But if it's a common UI like buttons, it can be shared across. It's a single code that you write.
And same code we can convert into a PDF file or some iOS.
So the way, okay, I'll show you the demo. So the way it works is you have a project file, you have an iOS project, Android project, Windows Phone project. So every time you compile an iOS project, it gives you an IPA file. Every time you compile an Android project, it gives you an APK file. So that's how it works. But you have a shared project which can be shared across all the platforms.
Okay, and UI how it works? Like suppose we are installing in Windows itself it converted to Windows UI or how?
Yeah, so when you're using Xamarin Forms, okay, there's a difference between Xamarin and Xamarin Forms. Xamarin is basically a traditional platform which gives you the platform access. Okay, now we're talking about Xamarin Forms. In Xamarin Forms, that's when you start converting the UI. What it does is it does a rendering magic. So when on the runtime, a button just gets in the code loop, and the button hits. It understands it's running on a Windows platform, so it initializes the Windows button, and it gives you the Windows button there.
It also supports like version of OS, like Android.
Yes, you can all write those. Those are feature flags that you can set. Okay, so let's get into demo, right? So what would be good if I don't show you a demo of the latest stuffs, right? So we will build something augmented reality, right? Okay, so this is my Visual Studio. Is it
Nish,
now?
quick question.
Yeah.
What is augmented reality?
What is augmented reality? How many of you have the answers to this? There is some nice chickies, and this is the first time I'm going to an event and making a chickie. I'm very addicted to this. What's
You have to
augmented
give that,
reality?
okay? You have to give that.
Where we are not, even though we are not physically staying there, if we see somewhere there in that location, assuming that our picture will be shown there and we will be acting like there we are.
Okay, partially correct. Yeah, I think you're right. Anybody else?
Pokemon Go game.
Yeah, that's an example. Pokemon Go.
You can open the camera and you can search. Suppose ATM is there, you can search like.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else want to hit it? Because I'm going to give it to him otherwise.
HoloLens.
HoloLens is a mixed reality.
Visualization, like you put extra information on a real thing.
Yeah.
Suppose an camera, you put it in front of a restaurant, and the site it
Yeah.
augments the reviews.
Yeah. It's all correct, but I'm just going to give it to him because he explained it very detailedly. Oh, there are more chickies?
Yeah.
I have to, you have to keep something for me.
I have more.
Yeah? Okay. So it's about taking your real world and augment it into a virtual world. Okay? That means convert them into a virtual world where you can now, because you have a similar world virtually, right? Now you can go for the mixed one that they're talking about. Mixed is when you mix both the worlds together. Your real world, so we are all in this beautiful place. And now if I want to add an extra chair, I have to go physically get a chair. But I can virtually put a chair here. That won't make any sense, but you can do that. Okay? So the best part is in the retails. Swami and I, we worked in the Target, and at that point of time, we had this kind of vision of doing that augmenting, where when you are in a retail store, you want to get to a particular item quickly, right? So you don't know, let's say some MDH, Mirch Masala, whatever, right? And you want to get to that item, you have no idea where this is. Now take your app, and it can actually look at your current location, and it can give you directions right there, right? So it's taking a virtual world and it's augmenting into it's taking a real world and it's augmenting, so you can walk in and go to the exact aisle and pick up the stuff. Got it? Okay, so now Pokemon Go is another best example for that, where you find Pokemon, all that is a crazy stuff. Like, so you have your real world and you are totally gone out of your real world and you go into the virtual world, and then you just walk around finding Pokemons. You get that small, what is it called? Pokédex, right? Which you get it, and then you just go on picking up, and eventually you land up either hitting by a bus, or walking into a pool, or falling from a landslide. I don't know. It's all can happen, right? So now, talking about augmented reality. Okay, until this point, augmented reality were all done by experienced engineers who knew how to do the X, Y, Z into a virtual and a real world to mix it, right? Pokemon Go was an example which came much ahead of time. Now, what Apple did, also with iPhone 10 coming in, is they announced something called as AR Kit. Okay, so they built the kit themselves as an API, and they're giving it to you. So you as the developers have to write just a few lines of code to make your world into an augmented world. Okay, that is super easy. And following, the Google also did the same thing with AR Core. So now as developers, you have these APIs, worked on you using different research principles, and now you have it available for you as an API, and you can just program it. And that's what I'm going to show you. Okay? Okay, so this is Visual Studio for Mac. It's a very familiar IDE, so you can go and say file new solution and start with adding an app, iOS app or Android app or whatever, right? Oh, this is the one that is creating noise? Okay. Sure. So there is iOS, Android, .NET Core, Cloud, Mac, IoT, tvOS. So all these kind of apps can be built, right? And these are all templates. Now how we build templates is, we looked at when you're building iOS app, what would be the easiest way to get started with something, right? So the templates are very magically attached to that iOS platform, and same with Android and things. But you don't have to, you can actually start with a blank app and you can go and add information to it if you want, right? Okay, so this is how an app will look like if I have to create a file new iOS app. So this is an iOS app, just leave the other one. So this is a solution. Yeah. You can see it now? So that's the iOS app. So you can see that you have the app delegate, you have game view controller, so which is what we're going to look at. And then there's something called a storyboard. You see something called main storyboard? So in iOS, you actually create your views in a storyboard. It's nothing but an XML file. So I can go into this. So you can see this is the storyboard. Now what we did as part of Visual Studio for Mac is we went ahead and created the windows very specific to how would you use as a .NET developer. So you can actually drag and drop controls and add values to it, like editing the properties and that kind of things. You can also open this storyboard directly in Xcode and edit it in the Xcode as well. Okay, so there is no restriction that you have to do it here. But this is very easy to do it because if you're an custom .NET developer, it makes it easy for you. So for example, if I want to change it, I can go and change how does it look on an iPhone 4S, 6s, or the best way to do is to build using generic view. And Apple actually gives you some nice layout constraints which you can edit it so that you can fit it into the iPads and iOS, iPhone 4S or whatever device form factor you have. Okay, so let's go write some code. So this is my view controller. This is where I write this code. Don't worry if you're totally new to it. It's all there in the API. It's all documented very well. But all that I want you to feel is if you're a .NET developer, you should know what I'm writing. You should be able to interpret what I'm writing. Yeah, that's all it is. So I have this application. This is where I'm going to build the AR, augmented reality. So before I start, I need a 3D object. So I have a 3D object which is created in another 3D object file. So it gives you a day format. So I'm just using that, and you can see that. So this is a 3D object. Right? So this is all built from pieces. So this is all, you see that? So this is all baked into creating a 3D object. You don't have to do this. This is technically any 3D designer can give you this file. All that you care about is get this design file. Whatever 3D object you want to place it on your view. Right? So this is my 3D object. So now I want to place this 3D object in my, what world should I place it? So here's the thing, what I'm going to build is I'm going to take this plane, right, and I'm going to place it in front of me, into this real world. Getting it? Yeah, so that's what the augmented reality is all about. So taking the 3D object, but that 3D object looks very gameish, but you can make it a little more polished to make it look like a real object. We'll look at that as well. So let's do that. So what I'm doing is a few things to know. I'm just going in details. If it's too much, just let me know. I can step out of it. So augmented reality depends on a few things. Already Apple has two kits. One is the scene kit and also the sprite kit. Sprite kit is basically the 2D graphics. Scene kit is the 3D graphics. So you can use the existing scene kits to build your graphic 3D object into another one. Is this the same thing? Oh, beard? I can't share it now.
You can pull the mic a little bit away.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the same problem.
Yeah, so now you can see the... Okay, so I have a did load method where I'm initializing a scene kit view, which is this one, right? So I have a scene view, And with augmented reality, they've added these extensions, so you can use AR scene view. So all that I have is the scene view, so now I'm going to program this on this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to say scene view dot session, scene session dot run, and this is the time I've initialized everything. I've got my 3D object. Okay. Now I want to run the session. So every AR is a session. So every session you'll have getting information of XYZ, and you can actually have delegates to capture this XYZ and place your objects however you want. That is when the person is moving the camera and other kind of things, right? So now I'm going to send him some configuration to it. So basically it needs an AR world tracking configuration. So this is where I'm going to say that I want to take my world and I want to track this, right? And I'll pass in a few things like I need a plane detection. So apparently Apple only provides a horizontal plane detection. There is no vertical yet. Probably it's going to come in future. And I also want my lights. So basically when there is light changes, right? There's lighting changes, and if you want to really listen to it, say if you want to increase the brightness on certain things and things, you can do that. Okay, and I'm also sending an option, this one, run options, which is I will just go ahead and reset the tracking. So every time there is a change, I want the tracking to be reset. So okay, this is all I'm going to do. Now I have started my session. Okay, now I need to get my ship that you saw there, the 3D object. I need to get it from my 3D object and place it in my real world. In my augmented world, right? So I'm going to get that first. So go to scene view. So you can see that this is where I've set this thing. This is where I've set the 3D object. So I'm going to get that first. So let's find. So I'm going to look for something called a ship, and I will look for something recursive. Right? So I got the ship object. Now all that I need to set is the ship's position. So it takes in vector 3. So I need to pass in x, y, z, right? 3D. So I will, for example, this is going to be the x, this is going to be y, this is going to be z. But the one thing is, there is something that you need to know. It depends on where the camera starts. So if I start the camera here, it would be the XYZ plane would be different. Okay, and it looks at the plane. And so the moment you open the camera, it looks at the plane surface, and then it identifies that you are in this world, and it draws the plane accordingly. Okay, so you can set the debug options to know exactly where it is setting. But I'm just going to go with a rough estimate right now. So I think I'll go with y and z-axis. I just want it a little far from me, so let's try this. And to show this demo, I cannot use any simulators, so I need to fall back onto a real device. And interestingly, you can only use devices from iPhone 6s and above. Okay, so there were people who bought iPhone 6 and they were very disappointed that they can't run their AR kit on it. That's because of the graphic engine which it requires to power. It's only available on those hardwares and above. Okay, let's point this to my. So this is going to take a little bit of time. Okay, this is compiling some large objects, and while this is happening, let me just. Let's hope that it has enough steps to work. Yeah, this is another
problem with the thing that just gets disconnected. There's so many things attached to it. It just automatically set it to an iPhone 8, iOS 8 someday, but it's going to fail on that anyways. So let's try this again. So any questions?
Why is it not running in simultaneous?
Because there's no way to get your 3D real world. The other way is to get a camera, but you still can't get XYZ yet, right? So the way to do it is like you also have to write some few things like check. First is you can check the info.ps file saying that from this version and above, so that there's no way they can download this version. But you can also do another check on the code if this is supported, and then write this code, which I have not done, so which is going to crash. Okay, let me just. Yeah, see that? Do you see the object that I yearly placed? So this is all you guys, you know. This is not demo, this is real. See that? So now I've placed it over here. So that's because my my z-axis I placed it this way. So now you can see that I can go close to it. Okay, let me just do one thing. Let me show you another code. So I'm going to just.
This is really cool, by the way.
You went above the aeroplane.
Huh?
You went above the aeroplane.
Yeah. So I did not see that.
Now you're flying higher.
So I told you, right? I mean, when you start the position, if it's like a little different, it's going to change again. So. Oh no. Apple's making it a little more difficult for all of us because it just gives me one USB-C port and I have to just stick everything into it. And yeah, it's working. So basically what I did is I just wrote some code to not make it static, but to take the plane location and then make it dynamic. Okay, so find the locations dynamically. So let's see if that works. Now it's Pokemon Go, right? So now you'll be fine. So the best part is there's real world and I can continue to do my work. And if I want to find a Pokemon Go, I can just do that. Right? Okay, so I'll show you what is even more cooler is we ported one of the Apple sample. And this is the Apple sample. So if I want to, so this is my real world. And if I let's say if I want to keep a chair here, I can just do that. Oh, there you go. That's a big chair. That's a big chair, right? So it's all. I mean, it's not really straightforward when you start with it because it has to. Okay, let's try something. So let's have cup. Oh, there's a candle. Oh, no. Let's do it. So imagine if you want to take your girlfriend or boyfriend to dinner and you want to do a candlelight dinner. All that you need to do is a candle, right?
Virtual candle dinner.
Yeah, see, this is real, right?
To celebrate birthday.
Yes. Celebrate birthday, yeah. Now you need to do foo and then just do that, right? So it's really amazing, you know, the way like you saw that with ARKit, just a few lines of code, you can technically place an object. All that you need to do is create the object so realistic that it just looks like real, right? So that's all you need to do about going into the new world. So yeah, so that's about iOS. And similarly, if you want to do Android, so I'm actually spending less time on creating 5 new projects.
I'll spend more time on just showing you these things. So you create a file new Android project, and all that you have is an Android code. And if you want to do some designings, you can go into resources, layout, and then write the XML file. Now if you look at it, the thing that you need to understand here is both the worlds are different. iOS is different, Android is different, right? iOS has a different way. You have storyboards. In Android, you have XML files, and you write it in main activity, and there are some APIs that you follow. The interesting part is you as a C# developer, you can understand the code that I wrote, right? So you have to just look at the API and write a proper code. That's what we do. So this is an Android. So all that you see here, the design is all coming from the Android's XML file. Technically, you can take the Android's XML file and put it here, and it's going to just work because they're all XML files. So that's how we build the platform. So you get the platform as is. Whatever an iOS developer can do in Objective-C or Swift, whatever an Android developer can do it on Java, or what's the latest one? Kotlin? You can do that on C# or F# using Visual Studio for Mac as well. Yeah? Any questions? Android, yeah.
From Windows, this mixed reality,
Yeah.
how it differs from this?
Mixed reality, how does it differ? So what happens with mixed reality, in augmented reality like this, you take the phone and you just place on these objects and things, right? And it is more like mixed as well, but why Microsoft calls it mixed reality in that space is because it's a wearable. So you really wear it, and it is context aware, and as you walk, you can actually keep doing things. So you don't have to lift it up. So in this case, when you're on the other side of the world, like you just take it out, right? You don't want to use this phone. You put it in the pocket there, you always wear it. So it's always, it's both the worlds together always, that's why it's mixed. Okay, so that was iOS and Android.
Can we do it on the web?
What's that?
Can we do it on the web?
Augmented reality, yeah.
HTML.
You can, but the problem with that is it's difficult to get the context right. You do it on the web, you do not know the planes and other things, there's no way, you need some device to detect it. It's not with the graphics, those all things can be done with OpenGL, WebGL and things.
Open in the mobile device, in the browser.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You have hybrid functions.
Yeah.
You can make use of.
There are hybrid apps, see the thing is you have to understand how hybrid apps work. Hybrid apps work putting a web browser in front of the user, 100% right, 100% white. So nobody knows it's a browser. It's only all the CSS and HTML making it look like an app. But when it comes to AI, it requires the real graphics, real, power from the metal, and you have to access these API, ARP and things. These are not possible in the hybrid apps today.
So you can make use of this API.
You can write bridges and other things, but then what is the refresh rate for a browser? 60 frames per second max, right? But then here, with the augmented reality, you go very high when you want to make the detail of it. So you can't do that in the process. You have to come out of the browser for sure. You have to create some view and then call that view from the web. There are hacks to do it, but there's no straightforward. Okay, so now let me just close this. What's that? Okay, let's move on to the web. I was just seeing if I can show you something on the client. But let's move to the web. So if you want to build web apps, you can do a file new solution and start with an ASP.NET Core application, right? Start writing web. But there are situations when you are actually working on iOS, Android, Windows apps, and you're very focused on giving the best experience for your customers or your end users. And all that you need to not worry about is a backend, right? So you can use a mobile backend for that purpose. So I can go to multi-platform, say Forms app, create next, and here, if you see it, I have this new checkbox which says enable mobile backend. So what it does is it automatically creates a backend project for you, where everything is wired up for you and you don't have to write a lot of code to just get your apps working. So for example, you're working an AR session and you want to start the AR session if a user is, let's say, starting on an iPad. Now he's doing it on an iPhone, he wants to start the same session on an iPad, and you want to keep some configuration files to keep the iPad boot up really fast, and you want to store it in some backend, right? So you want to store it in some database so that when the iOS iPad app comes up, it actually picks up that information. You can have a mobile backend where you don't have to really worry about databases, where I'm going to host the database, can I host it somewhere close to my location, can I scale it up, can I have a web service exposing the database, all those things you don't have to worry about. All that you need to do is just say, I want a mobile backend, and just go next, and it'll create a project for you. Now when it does, what it is going to do is, I didn't write any other code. It's a 5 new project, that's it. I just gave a name. So you will have the Android, you have the iOS, and you can also see there's something called as mobile app service. That is the backend code that automatically generated for you. Okay. Let's not look at the shared. The rest of the shared projects are basically things that you want to share. So since you were asking the Xamarin Forms question, like how does it know Windows and iOS earlier, right? So this is my view. Let's say this is about page, and this is my view. This is where I edit my view, and this view is shared across all these projects. So you see this is a DLL. This is being shared in iOS, okay, and similarly Android and other formats. So if you go into the iOS, what does iOS do? It doesn't have any main storyboard because your UI is not designed by the native anymore. So you go to app delegate, and all that it does is this lines of code. It just says Xamarin Forms.init, and it passes the app which is written inside your Xamarin Forms app. So now everything is being rendered from the platform, but it's being called from the shared project. Shared. Okay. So even the view. This is an example of 100% view share. Okay. So everything is being written inside this solution. So you have views, you have view models. You guys are familiar with MVPM pattern? Model view model? Yeah. So you can use MVPM pattern because we went ahead and supported XAML. So since XAML is supported, there's two-way bindings, so you can use MVPM and all. So this is the backend file. So basically, what is a backend? If you go to the options, this backend is nothing but an ASP.NET project, ASP.NET Core project. You all can see it. Yeah. So that's an ASP.NET Core project. So now you can see that I'm going to run ASP.NET Core projects right inside a Mac. Yeah. This all was not possible a few years ago. I mean, it all looked very fancy to do it, but today it's all a professional product. So let's say what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just run this project so that I can show you what exactly it does. So you saw that it's an iPhone 10 simulator. I couldn't afford an iPhone 10, so it's simulator works. So this is my iPhone 10, which is trying to look for an information, right? At the same time, I don't know if you noticed, it also opened us UI at the back end. Okay? You see that? So when I pressed F5, basically I pressed this one, it opened two things. It automatically opened the backend and it also opened the iPhone 10 simulator. So we now support multi-process debugging, which is within the same flow, you can actually debug both the things. So regardless of where the code is, it's going to hit. So for example, this code right now has nothing. So if I just say try it out, it just has those things that is being displayed over here, right? So let's go ahead and create a new file. So call this as item name XYZ and save. Now you see that it has hit my breakpoint. It's in my view model. So this is my UI. I can debug this. I can find out what's happening around, and I can just say run. And now within some time, you can see that it is hitting the backend code. Now it is the ASP.NET Core backend. So it is doing both the debuggings for you to make it seamless for your development. So now you don't have to really run this thing, remote debug it, post it, wait for it to hit, and all those things. It's all in straightforward in a single line. Okay, so now if I just simply run it, yeah.
Where is this web server we host? Like,
Yeah.
you to host
It is hosted locally.
locally.
Yes.
So on phone means,
Sir?
suppose we need to host somewhere this web server.
Yeah. If you want to host it, you can host it on Azure. So that's a good question. So I'll just tell you that as well. So if you, let's say, right now it's running locally, so that's why if you go to Safari, and you can see that this is localhost 5000, right? It's hosted locally on the Mac. Remember this is the .NET code running on a Mac. Okay. Now,
Crystal server.
sorry?
Which server? That's IAS. It's not the.
No, it's not iOS. It's
Kestrel.
Kestrel. That's the oldest one.
The local server.
Yeah, it's a local server. Right now, if you want to like host it somewhere, obviously it makes sense to host it. So you can just say publish and publish to Azure. So now again, these things are baked inside your Visual Studio ID. So you don't have to really open the portal.azure.com, do all these things, come back and this. Once you create a backend thing, right click and publish, everything is all set by you. You just have to choose few things. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Question? Okay. This is going to take a little.
My mobile and the server, both on the same network, still would be able to access it.
It's on the same network. But if I publish to Azure, I will also have to change my URL that needs to connect to. So right now it's connected to a local. So this is, see, I created a file name project, that's all I did. I didn't do anything more than that.
Just like a web API.
Yes, it's a web API, I think it's a web API. But, so it all comes under Azure's API apps umbrella. And you have Azure, say, apps, web apps, there's mobile apps. Under the hood is all API apps. Okay? And logic apps, API and logic apps. Under the hood is all API. What we do with the mobile apps is we also add mobile controllers for you. So now you can do offline sync and offline sync. Let's say there is no network, you can go ahead and save it locally. Automatically it will sync with the server when there's a network. So you can write those kind of lines of codes.
So we have already one app working, one web application working in the web API.
Yeah.
So we can create, we can reuse that app.
You can, yes. You don't have to use this, yes, you can use that. Okay. So I choose these things and then keep going, like I can choose where I want to host, I want to create a new resource group and all those things. But this is going to take a while, so I can just show you a little bit more. So basically I choose my subscription, I choose my resource group. You all know how to host it on Azure? Or you're all new to it? Okay. So Azure, this is a platform as a service where you don't worry about the infrastructure. You don't worry about the processor that is going to be given to you. You don't worry about the RAM. You only worry about your platform, and your app has to run on a particular backend. And when this backend goes, Azure's responsibility to scale up and down depending on the load. So you get a high performant one. Okay? So I choose my subscription. First is you need a subscription to run your Azure. So you choose a subscription. So I might have multiple subscriptions. For this reason I have Dropbox there. And then I select a resource group. So when you build things on Azure, you will have multiple resources that you'll be using, like databases, you'll have a web service, you want to have this particular, let's say, processor configuration, all those things, right? You can group all of them into a resource group for your app. So what happens when you want to delete, you can actually go and delete this resource group and everything else is gone. So you don't have to individually go make changes. So that's why it's just a logical grouping of your resources. So you choose the resource group and then you choose the service plan. Now this is where you need to be very careful. Make sure you choose the free plan when you're starting with the POCs, so you don't get any charges on your credit card and things, right? And a free plan is pretty good. It can do a lot of things. Even for your simple apps, it is really, really good. So you choose, and you also choose the region here. So if you choose the Central US, if you are demoing it to your customers in local here, it's going to take a lot of time. So choose India. India has 3 data centers in Chennai, Pune, and Mumbai. Choose any of this, choose South India or whatever, and then you can host it there. Okay. And when let's say when your app is grown out of proportion and you're hitting a new target, let's say you want to go to Singapore, right? You add a new thing, same configuration, file a new one in Singapore, and your app, let it do the context switch. If you are working in Singapore, let me get the Singapore location, right? You know Uber? If you guys have used Uber outside India, you know how it does. It magically responds to that location, and the entire app changes to fit into that particular, including the currencies and routes, route maps, everything changes. Yeah? So you can do all those kind of things. So now you are not worried about a backend. You're not worried about hosting it in Chennai or Singapore. You know it's going to work. All that you care about is just create a backend and have your code ready for consuming again apps logic. Yeah? Okay. So how much time do I have? Is it stopped? 2 minutes. That's it? Okay, no problem. So that's the back-end part of it, and that's really 2 minutes. That's impossible, right? Okay.
Visual Studio for Mac is open source.
Visual Studio for Mac is not open source. It's not. because there's a lot of Visual Studio's code also used into it. Yeah. There is Mono Develop if you want to look at where we forked from. Mono Develop is where the Visual Studio for Mac was initially forked before even Xamarin Studio. So if you want to look at the code, you can use the Mono Develop code and check.
So in area, like how much it costs?
Oh, it's all free now. There's
It's community edition.
Community edition. Just community edition, you can use it free. If you're indie developers, by the way, Microsoft is not charging you anything, okay? Just go ahead and do whatever you want. Okay, so should I take some questions then, since I don't have much time? Should I move on to questions, or you want to see something else?
Multiprocess debugging. Is it available in Windows 27? Windows just 27.
It is available, I guess. You can do multiprocess debugging, yes. It was there before also, right? Multiprocess debugging, yes. You can. So basically it's a remote debugging and attaching it to a single thread. Any other questions? Yeah.
Can you summarize that or join later?
Huh?
Can you summarize that?
Can you
We have
Summarize that.
summarize? Okay.
We have recorded this, so we will post it on YouTube.
Actually, technically, I had a lot to cover. Like, I want to show you the live player. Have you seen the Xamarin live player? Okay, you've seen it. No.
You can tell briefly what it is.
So Xamarin live player. So you saw that I was worrying about attaching it to a phone and other kind of things. So let's say if you're working on Windows in Visual Studio and you really don't want to buy an iPhone and you really don't want to buy a Mac, but you really want to see it on your iPhone, you can do that using Xamarin live player. You just download the app called Xamarin live player. I'll just quickly show you. Yeah. Okay. I'll just make it fast. Okay. So by the way, while this is executing, there are a few things. We have support for IoT. We have support for Azure Functions. If you guys know functions, serverless loading, right? So just create file new, just go to the functions and create the serverless code, and you can still work on it. We have support for Docker. So technically, I can take a backend project and right-click add Docker support and run it. It is going to run it on your Docker. So this is all supported directly inside the Visual Studio for Mac.
So it's in the same feeling which I have developed in the Android.
Say that again?
In the same feeling which I have developed in the Android.
It gives you the same
Feeling which I have developed in the Android product.
Yeah. So if you're working on Android, you get the Android app.
Okay.
It's Android. It's not feeling. It's an Android app.
Like
So
the UI and process.
everything is an Android. Everything is completely Android. Yeah. We can do a one detailed session on Xamarin because I was trying to cover everything on Visual Studio for Mac. Yeah, we can do it.
So we also have another meetup group called X Hackers where we focus primarily on Xamarin and Xamarin functional stuff. You guys can join it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's an X-Hackers group that we run where we go deep into Xamarin and Xamarin stuffs. So you can join there. So, so I have something called Xamarin Live Players. So I have to open my Live Player app. Let's see. What's the best way to show this? Yeah, because I'm on a Wi-Fi, so. Okay. I don't know why it got disconnected. So I was just trying to. How do we? What's the best way to show this? Yeah, it should come. Actually, I should send this up. that's fine. You just have to just follow what I say because I was trying to connect the screen mirror. So what I did get is I get a QR code scanner. I just open the Live Player app and I just flash it into this, and now it's connected. That's it. So it's a Live Player app. Okay. So it's already connected. Now I can just run this code just like this. You guys have to just, I'm so sorry about this. I was just trying to use the reflector and I don't have time. So yeah, you see that? It's automatically popped up and it gives me the screens that you saw earlier. So I can debug it. Now let's say if I want to, as I'm coding it, I really want to check my code. I can actually go in this and say run live current view. Okay, so now you see that? I have a, you guys can see it?
Yep.
Okay. So now I'm going to make, can you just uncomment this quickly? It's command. That's stuff. Copy through this one. Copy through the comments. Command.
Yeah, save it.
Yeah. You don't have to save it.
Okay.
So you saw that automatically changing it. Yeah. So you can do a live this one. Okay. There's absolutely, you don't need a Mac. If you're on a Windows, it would make more sense. You connect it. You can just live run this one. Okay. If you want to understand this magic, this is run using Roslyn. It's written in F# by the way. This Live Player app is written in F# and it's beautiful. It just works magically. So if you want to really work really fast, you don't have to debug, connect. You know, that whole life cycle is going to get reduced. Okay. Any other questions? I'll take it up. Maybe 2 questions. I have some more chickies. Chickies? 2 more questions? No? Okay, you guys are good. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.